Hey, everybody. I hope and pray that you're doing well today as we come to our word from the Word. And today that word is loot. Loot. Now, we know a lot of times there are, there's riots and people break in and loot a store, take everything that's there. And in that same way, God is getting ready and he's going to tell Moses that that's what the Israelites are going to do to Egypt. Now, can you imagine being the Israelites and hearing this message from a man named Moses? Somebody you say, well, wait a minute, man, he was raised as an Egyptian, right? And he's been gone some 40 years. And maybe they knew of his background, maybe they didn't. But Moses, even as he has this encounter in Exodus chapter 3 with the burning bush, which is the presence of God who is calling him, telling him, I'm going to use you and I'm going to send you to answer the call of my people. Right? He's saying, I have heard, God is saying, I have heard what they have been crying out, and I've seen what the Egyptians have done, and I'm going to make things right. And he says, Moses, I choose you to be my messenger, to be my voice, to be the one that's making intercession there on earth. Now, here's the thing, that you would think that Moses would take it right away, that he would say, oh, I'm so thankful and so grateful to be used. Yes, point me in the direction I need to go. But you'll see in chapter 3 and 4, Moses continues to make excuse after excuse after excuse, just like we would do. And here in this chapter, he's like, well, wait a minute, who am I? I'm not one that should go. Now, he starts with an attitude of humility, and that would be right. That'd be a right attitude to have. But then, well, Lord, if I get there and I tell him that God sent me, the God of my fathers, what do I tell him his name is? And God says, I am who I am. Tell him I am sent you. Tell him Yahweh, the one true God, is the one who sent you. And so he continues to make excuses as he goes through these chapters. But here at the end of chapter 3, God tells Moses that he is going to send him to Pharaoh. And he says, look, you're going to go, you're going to gather the elders, and you're going to go and you're going to tell him, look, we need to have a 3-day journey to the wilderness to worship. And Pharaoh is not going to let it happen. And so that's where we pick up today in Exodus chapter 3 to talk about this word loot today, looking at verses, 19 through 22. But I am sure that the king of Egypt will not let you go. No, not even by a mighty hand. So I will stretch out my hand and strike Egypt with all my wonders, which I do in its midst. And after that, he will let you go. And I will give this people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. And it shall be when you go that you shall not go empty-handed. But every woman shall ask of her neighbor, namely, of her who dwells near her house, articles of silver, articles of gold, and clothing, and you shall put them on your sons and on your daughters, so you shall plunder the Egyptians. The message here, overall, the message is you are going to be victorious. Not only that, but God had told him, look, you all are going to worship on this mountain. You're going to bring them and you're going to worship here. And he's outside of Egypt, and he's like, that can't be possible. He says, no, it is. This land that I'm going to give you, I promise you, I'm going to make a way. And so not only does he tell him, and is the message to the Israelites that God has heard their cry, and God has seen their oppression, but God is also going to rescue them, but God is not going to rescue them and send them out empty-handed. He's going to load them down. They're going to loot Egypt in that way. And see, I think the thing that we forget is that when God rescues us from the pit, from the places that we've been, from the oppression, from the depression, from the things that we've put ourselves in, the situations we've put ourselves in, when God rescues, he doesn't just rescue a little. He rescues fully with grace on top of it. It's grace upon grace. So not only was he going to spare them and keep them alive away from the Egyptians, out of the oppression, rescue them out of the nation. He was going to rescue them physically in that way, but he was also going to provide for them supernaturally by all of a sudden their enemies, their oppressors, handing over things to them as they leave. Now, if you know the story, you know this is exactly what happens. And they leave and they plunder all of Egypt. But see, I think we need to understand today that, yes, God is not, we're not the nation of Israel. And you in your life, you may not be in slavery and in bondage to any nation. But we were all at one point, and you may be still today, under the bondage of sin. You've never accepted Christ as your Savior. But when Christ saves you, when you accept the free gift of salvation by faith, then not only are you rescued from the oppression of sin, but you are looting hell. You are stealing everything that could have anything, right? I mean, it's kind of that same thought, that same mentality, that now not only are you getting the riches that the devil would offer you, right? As remember how Satan tempted the Lord, and he says, well, here, I'll give you all of these kingdoms. I'll give you all of this, as though it really belonged to him in the first place. And it's kind of that same thought that in our sin, we are bondage to it, and we are listening to the lies of Satan. But yet when Christ saves us, we are rescued out of it, and then he gives us loot on top of it. And it may not be material things. It may not be, it's not like you're going to get saved and get a big fat check. But what you do get is the grace and the mercy and the love of God and the presence of God. And Israel will see this. And you can see this as a great illustration as they go through the trials and tribulations in Egypt, and even as God rescues them, and even as they deal with it as they go out. And we're going to see that over and over again through this book, the book of Exodus. Today, I would ask you, have you praised God and thanked God for the way that he's helped you loot the things that the world had to offer, and that have you thanked him for giving you grace upon grace? God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.